One of the most important things you can do to get more done is do less. And in particular, what I mean is to say no. So that's hard to do. There's just a million opportunities coming at us all the time. And it's really difficult to turn them down, especially when they're coming from a distance. I've talked before about the idea of beware of distant elephants, that concept that, just because someone asks you to do something or someone asks you to be at an event or speak at an event 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, just because your calendar's free now doesn't mean your calendar will be free then. And I think we've all experienced that moment where you wake up early and you have this thing you have to go to and you realize, I really don't want to do this. But you've already committed, so you have to go. But you realize in that moment, I really don't want to do this. I really don't want to be there. And so one of the best things we can do, one of the best gifts we can give ourselves personally and in business is the option, the ability, the expectation to say no. And that's not always easy to do. So it doesn't have to be super negative. So let me just kind of walk you through that. The first thing is we say no so that we can say yes to the right things. We say no to things that are okay. We say no to things that are almost good so that we can say yes to the things that are best. Because we've all been there where we said yes to something and then something better comes along, and maybe it's something with our family, or maybe it's just some other business opportunity, but we can't take it because we've said yes to something that was just mediocre or okay. And then we can't say yes to something that's perfect. And so there's this concept going around the business community. I think there's a book about it. It's either hell yes or it's no, meaning that it's either you're very excited about it or you absolutely don't do that thing, right? So that's why we say no. We got to get into the habit of saying no more frequently so that we can say yes to the right things. So there are a couple of different ways to say no. So the first is just to say no. Like, I'm just sorry, I can't do that. I'm not interested. That's probably the most difficult option for those of us that are sort of people pleasers or people. We want to make people happy. We want to have a good reputation. And so we don't really want to say no. And so there's two other options that I think we forget about a lot of times. One is you can say no, but. So if somebody says, hey, I want to meet with you, you could say, I can't really do that right now, but let's continue this conversation on email. There's a pretty well-known entrepreneur here in town, and that's exactly what he does. People ask for his time all the time, and he says, I can't do that right now, but I'm really good with email, so I can't meet with you right now. I'm great with email. Let's have an email conversation. So no, but. Give them an alternative that's acceptable to you in that framework. The other option is to just say, not now. I'm in a busy season right now. It's back to school time right now. Things are crazy around the house, or it's Christmas time right now and I don't have time, or I'm taking vacation time. Now is not a good time, but come back to me at a later time. And then if that person's serious, if they're really pursuing you, if they really want that time of yours and they value it enough, then they'll come back. But here's a tip. Usually they won't. Usually they're just kind of busy. They're just checking things off a list and they won't even think to come back to you later on. And so really you're kind of okay. So then my last piece of advice, and this is probably one of the best pieces of advice I can ever give really to anybody about lifestyle or whatever else. This is one of my favorite things that I do, and that is create systems that allow you to say no by default. And here's what I mean by that. Or create rules in your life that allow you to say no by default. Here's what I mean by that. So I live in a neighborhood. People come knock on the door all the time trying to sell all kinds of garbage. And I don't want to buy any of that stuff. And honestly, and even if it sounds good, I'm still buying it's probably a mistake. So I have a rule. I never buy anything at the door, ever. So I just cut them off. Hey, listen, I appreciate what you're trying to sell. If you got a business card, go ahead and leave that business card. I'll take a look at it. I don't buy anything at the door, ever. Sorry. I've made the decision once and for all and forever. So I never have to make that decision again. It just covers all of them. Or another similar decision, I never buy anything on the spot. If you're going shopping for a car, if you're going into any high pressure sales thing, choose to never buy anything on the spot. So when they're trying to, this is a one-time offer. Okay, sorry. I don't ever buy anything on the spot. I'll think about it. Maybe if the offer's not there when I come back, that's okay. Right? You just make that decision right then to not come back. The other thing is another rule that I have that has really helped me a lot. And this is because I work from home and I have like a million kids and I have a lot of stuff going on. I only meet in person once a month. So I do a lot of outreach to a lot of people. Hey, I'd love to connect. Hey, how are you doing? Hey, what's going on with you? And I love connecting with people. It's really important to me to connect with people. It's important to me personally. It's important to my business. But I don't have the time. I live too far out of the city to drive in and out and in and out and in and out. And I've done that before. And it takes so much time and it's so expensive. And it takes all of my time and all of my day. And I just don't have that kind of time. And so I just made a rule. I only do in-person meetings on the last Wednesday of every month. And so when I'm corresponding to people or they say, hey, how about coffee or lunch? I would love to do that. I do in-person meetings on the last Wednesday of every month. Do you have any time on that day? I've got these times available that day. So it allows me to say, no, I can't do that right now, but here's another option that could work for us. And it allows me to sort of do it on my own terms that allow me to remain productive. And it's pretty fantastic. And a lot of times too, with those folks that say, oh, let's have an in-person meeting, they might not even realize, like, oh, I didn't realize you were that far out of the city. No problem. Let's just have a Zoom call. Let's make it simple. Or they'll say, oh yeah, that's fine. We can kick it down, 30 days and do it then. So it's fantastic. So I cannot express the importance of saying no enough. It allows you to focus on the main things. It allows you to do what you do best and what's most important to you. And honestly, it just allows you to simplify your life. And it's so, so worth it. So that's all I've got to share today. Thanks for joining. If you want to connect with me, you can connect with me on any of my websites listed here. I'd love that. Please check me out on YouTube and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate that. You can find my YouTube link on my website, adamjwalker.com. And thanks for joining us.